if it was doable at compile time, then yeah, that's fine. If you wanted to do it dynamically at runtime, no such luck.
Can you convert that compiler to Delvic and embed that in your application? Do you know the bug with ASM and then convert it?
Maybe you might have a window there. If you're that desperate, I suggest go and look at their source code tree and give it a try.
It's more than 1 weekend.
Yeah, it's probably a lot more than 1 weekend.
Didn't you write a VAX compiler that did a VAX compiler that did a VAX compiler at university?
I never went to university.
So if you want to use third-party libraries for Java, that's easy.
Third-party
But
libraries.
you know, Java files for various things.
Yeah, straightforward. So long as the compiler can get hold of the jar file and compile it to Delvic VM, that's fine. We haven't done anything. The one thing that is of interest to me that I noted doing some stuff the other day was that given the resource files and the way they're compiled, I don't know how you distribute a third-party UI app, UI component from Android, because it requires you to compile in the stuff into your own app. I don't know how you distribute the resources in a way that was sensible for other people to then compile them into their app and things. I suppose you could go along the same naming convention as classes and call everything, com.simworks, blah blah blah, and so I give the components so that there was no namespace clashes. The namespacing is global in the R class, but they suggest that that's not a problem unless it's duplicated inside the activity that you're doing. At that point, they say bad things will happen. You can tell that some of it's been written by C++ programmers because there's lots of... The behavior at this point is undefined, which is C++ speak for you don't want to do this. And seems to happen all over the C++ spec. The behavior at this point is undefined.
So you compile your Java classes, and then did you create some sort of jar file and give it to the compiler? Or?
You don't. Well,
No.
I believe that's what happens under the hood. I've never done that thing. The Android tools go the whole step. So what you end up with, Whiteboard? Yep. What you end up with is you end up with dot classes, and then they compile a .dex file, which is the resources stuff, and then the Delvic compiler takes that and gives you an APK, which is a package file with all of it together in it at the end. So I don't believe it goes into the jar file in between, but that's the way it builds stuff. There you go. I've never been here, Richard, so you're running the talk at this point. I don't know.
So that'll tell you when you're creating a project with this particular kind of Eclipse nature, it'll clearly go and specify what builds it is using. So it builds the Android stuff, then compiles each other, and recompiles all that class file.
So what actually is the build chain? Is it like ant tasks or maven plugins? Or?
There is ant tasks for it. I don't believe there's any maven plugins, but given that there's ant tasks, that's too difficult. All of this stuff here just calls their tools under the hood. So when you get the Android SDK, there's a tools directory, and everything just fires stuff in that. So you could easily do it for anything else, and you can do it by hand. And in fact, you must do it by hand for the final stage, which is when you want to sign your app.
What's happening here is that actually there's for Eclipse there's a listener that listens for changes to resources. Resources happen to be, say, Java files, and then normally you just see Java Builder, so that would actually call Java C.
No.
And then after that we see the Android package builder is taking that class file and then doing something with it. So the other two are pre-compiling. So that's all Eclipse is sort of.
So one of these two, and I'm not sure which one of it, takes your resources, it generates your R.dot file out of it, so that when the Java compiler comes to build your Java, you've got the resources there to compile. And it's the sort of the other thing we've done a lot of in the past is Corba stuff, and it's the same line as your IDL stuff. You have to have your IDL compiled before your own Java classes will compile. Well, it's the same when you have to have your resources compiled before your Java classes will compile. Android's the plugin seems to handle it really well. You almost never notice it. Occasionally, if you're really quick, you can get there before it's done, and you're suddenly doing r.id something or other, and it doesn't appear up.
Okay, so you've got build automatically turned on.
I do not have build automatically turned on, but most people do. So.
But this will happen when you just save a file.
Yes,
individually.
it does happen.
It'll
on
go
the
through
same
that
as well.
chain. So I've done something like this where I've got Java Builder, and the next one is an enhancer for doing ORM enhancement of entities and transactionals.
This is for your easy EB.
Yeah,
stuff.
EB stuff.
EB.
But so yeah, if you wanted to use any sort of AOP stuff and you wanted to hook it into Eclipse, that's how you do it. So Java Builder would build your class files, and then you could run your AOP type enhancement on those class files to modify them.
So presumably that means you could insert it in here, so long as all your stuff would happen at compile time, and it would happen before the package builder happened, and you'd get Delpit VM out of it in the end anyway. Right. Any further demonstrations? Does anybody want to see anything in particular, or shall I just go on and finish the slideshow?
Finish the slideshow.
Finish the slideshow? Get us out of here.
How do you find Android, the OS just in itself?
It's fine, but it's kind of interesting because it's turned off all the networks, so I've never made a call with it. I've never sent a text message with it. I've never done anything you usually do with a phone with it because it's all turned off at the moment, so I can't really say that.
Does it have the same menu structures and settings unlike every other phone on the planet?
No, not really. It's got big giant nested menus of stuff that, you know, you're not quite sure where you need to go to find things and stuff. Like, one of the common things with demo phones, which we've always found, is battery life is a problem. You know, people are always leaving them on. One of the complaints I will make about it, and I don't know whether it's just particularly the situation that I've been in, but if you run Wi-Fi and GPS at the same time on this, the battery life is about an hour and a half. That's it. It's dead at that point. So battery life, because that's what we've been doing with the app, that's been an issue for us. And finding the battery status and how much actual battery life is left on the phone is really quite tricky. You have to know where to go to look. It's not straightforward at all.
Does it shut itself down when the battery's flat?
Yes, it does. So, more great things about Android. The devices are highly capable, as I mentioned before. They've got lots of cool things in them that you can do, so there's lots of scope for doing interesting stuff, and the spec is fairly well defined on what you can and can't rely on being there, so that's groovy. Better quality Java, we have credentials, hooray! You'll notice that's a recurring point of mine because I hate vectors with Apache. And of course it's Java 1.5, so you've got all the nice things that gets you. There's a lot of publicity around it at the moment. We've noticed that just talking to people and you're like, oh, we're doing this, and people who are like, oh, we've done some mobile stuff before, but you're doing Android, so that's really cool, and we'd like to talk to you about doing Android stuff, whereas if you just tell them you've done another app, they're not really that interested, so that's good. Android Marketplace is a good way to get your app out there to the public. As I said, the advertising doesn't get your app sold. That's a lie. There is no selling on there at the moment. They're talking end of first quarter next year, but who knows? They've been pretty close to the dates so far, which they've leaked out to the public, so it's probably going to be fairly close to that. But there are other places. If anybody wants to know what they are, come talk to me later, and I'll tell you about the other places you can sell mobile apps. But it is a way to get it out there and published, and it is a way that people can actually find apps on your phone. One of the biggest problems on mobile development at the moment is you do an app, you put it out there in a marketplace, and it never goes to the bloody marketplaces. So how do you get them to know that? What Apple did right with the iPhone was they put it on the phone, so you can link to it from the phone. You can go straight there really easily, and people know to go there for apps. Same thing with Android, so you can get your app picked up and noticed. And there are the marketplaces to monetize your applications, and advertising becoming more of a beast. A few of the little hurdles that are around, sort of more on a commercial front than on a technical front. High-end devices, they're expensive, and there won't be that many of them around. There is limited numbers of them being made, so the first production run was 100,000, they sold all those, they made another production run of 200,000, so that is a total of 300,000 devices in the world. Nokia tends to produce them in the tens of millions, so there's a big difference in the number of handsets that are out there. And because of that, you've got limited market penetration, which means you're going to have a global customer base. If you want to talk to me about all the problems that entails, come and talk to me afterwards, but it's not pretty. Will it be a big thing? Will it get out there so that it's a reasonable chunk of the marketplace and you can sell to your customers writing Android apps? Who knows? We're selling to people on the basis at the moment that they want to be in the what's new and cool marketplace. That doesn't last very long, you know, the iPhone's kind of petering out the what's new and cool, and there's already other new and cool things on there. Android will be the same within 6 months to a year, so it needs to be a big enough chunk of the marketplace for people to get there. If people like Kogan come out and sell $199 phones that do all the things that Android does, it probably will. We'll just have to wait and see. And my other pet peeve that probably isn't going to bother too many of you guys, but annoys the hell out of me, is the massive fragmentation in the mobile market space. There is a lot of things to learn and a lot of things to know, and if you're going to concentrate on mobile development, you don't get to play in the same ballpark all the time, and consequently adding another operating system and another way of doing things to the stack has been a pain.